I was nervous about looking back at the words I wrote on the 9th of October 2012. I didn't think my reporting would be terrible. I just doubted I'd be proud of it. Back then, my primary job was live blogging federal politics. The Age, the broadsheet newspaper I worked for at the time, was transforming itself into a digital-first news agency. The transition was brutal. There was mass shedding of jobs as the internet blew a hole in our business models. Journalists wondered what journalism actually was in this new age, and there were turf wars going on inside Fairfax Media, the organisation that owned The Age, as the newspaper and digital arms were integrated. Live reporting was a refuge from those existential uncertainties. In that mode, I covered Parliament in 10 or 15-minute intervals, sometimes posting for 12 hours at a time. We were making up this style of reporting as we went. Readers had a voracious appetite for news as it happened, and we were trying to migrate the old newspaper values to live reportage in the new world. None of this scene setting is an excuse, it's just context. I'm scoping out my professional milieu as I sat, plugged into the matrix, and listened to Julia Gillard hurling the words that became the misogyny speech, a set of words powerful enough to travel around the world. That day, in the 43rd Parliament, was much like all the others. Labor governed in minority, and every day was a struggle. My first post on the live blog that day was at 9:30 a.m. This was a late start because I'd been out watching Gillard at a breakfast event outside the Parliament. My last post on the blog that day was at 10:35 p.m. We'll get to the specifics of the day shortly, but first, some background about the 43rd Parliament. The Gillard government lacked a majority in both chambers, but it had an ambitious policy agenda that it pursued relentlessly through the roller coaster of contested party leadership. As Labor legislated a carbon price, paid parental leave and a national disability insurance scheme, Kevin Rudd was on track to return to the Prime Ministership he had lost in 2010. While the government slogged forward, battling in what felt like a game of inches, the endorphin-charged opposition leader Tony Abbott, intent on victory, engineered a daily sense of crisis in the Parliament. Abbott was a creature of institutions: Riverview School, Oxford, the Seminary, the Liberal Party, and understood how to harness their power. Federal Parliament was his playground. The pugilistic soundstage suited him. He moved near-daily suspensions of the standing orders, a procedure used to disrupt the parliamentary program, to create a palpable sense that the Gillard government was teetering on the edge of collapse. Abbott was expert at cueing Australia's right-wing media, the Rupert Murdoch-owned metropolitan tabloids, the national broadsheet The Australian, the Just Us Blokes zone of talkback radio, and he used the content-hungry whitewater news cycle to amplify a governance crisis he fermented with ferocious precision. On the day of the misogyny speech, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Peter Slipper, was embroiled in a serious controversy. Labor had wooed Slipper, a Liberal MP, to the Speaker's chair in an effort to bolster its control of the chamber. On that day in October, Abbott had put forward a motion to have Slipper removed as the Speaker. This followed the release of crude text messages Slipper had sent to a former advisor, James Ashby. The messages had surfaced as evidence in a sexual harassment case Ashby had launched against Slipper. Abbott was again on the offensive. The Speaker had failed the character test, he thundered in Parliament, adding that Gillard had failed the judgment test by appointing him as a presiding officer. Shame was Abbott's rhetorical weapon of choice. Should she being the Prime Minister, now rise in this place to try to defend the Speaker, to say that she retains confidence in the Speaker, she will shame this Parliament again, Abbott said. And every day the Prime Minister stands in this Parliament to defend this Speaker will be another day of shame for this Parliament, and another day of shame for a government which should have already died of shame.